It's Tim Sheets of TechSpot here, and this is the OnePlus 3, the undoubted budget flagship smartphone champion of this year and the real 2016 flagship killer. I've been using the OnePlus 3 for a couple of weeks now and I really like it, and it's hard to fault up against its competition. Perhaps my favourite aspect of this phone is the build quality. The metal unibody design that OnePlus has opted for is a big upgrade on the OnePlus 2. It's slimmer, it's easier to hold, and it feels better in your hand, as well as looking nicer. That sheen that the metal gives this device a premium feel, and although there are antenna bands on the back breaking up a very sleek metal back panel, I tend to like the aesthetic that OnePlus has gone with here. At 5.5 inches, the OnePlus 3 is larger than average for a smartphone, so users with small hands may find it a little difficult to use with one hand. However, I love the way that OnePlus has curved the edges to this handset. It makes it really comfortable to hold, and this build in general rivals some of the best smartphones on the market at the moment. On the right hand side of this device is the power button in a comfortable location, and on the opposite side is the volume rocker. Above that you'll notice a switch which is used to control the priority notification features of the OnePlus 3, and although I didn't use it all that often, it could come in handy for some users. You also find here a dual SIM slot. Very handy to have dual SIM functionality here, although there's no Microsd Expansion. Personally, I didn't find that to be too much of an issue because 64GB of storage is standard on this device, although users who want more storage, 128GB or upwards, will need to opt for a different device here. Along the bottom you'll find the single bottom firing speaker, which is okay quality, nothing outstanding here. There's also a USB Type-C port, which I love to see here again. It's flexible, it's reversible, and it's a modern standard, and of course the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is still a crucial feature on smartphones today. At 7.4mm thick, the OnePlus 3 is quite slim, and that does introduce a camera bump for that 16MP sensor on the back. OnePlus has still managed to cram in a 3000mAh battery into this smartphone, a slight reduction on the OnePlus 2, but I found battery life to be quite respectable across the board. On the front, it's protected by Gorilla Glass for that 5.5-inch display, and above you'll find things like a notification LED and of course the in-call speaker. On the bottom, there's a fingerprint sensor. This is a big upgrade on the OnePlus 2's fingerprint sensor. It's faster and more accurate here, and you have the option of using the capacitive navigation buttons there. You can change the functionality of these in the software settings, or alternatively you can use on-screen buttons if you find that more comfortable to use. The display of the OnePlus 3 is a 5.5-inch 1080p AMOLED at 401 pixels per inch, and while I know some of its competitors come with 1440p displays, I don't feel that the extra resolution adds a whole lot to the package, so I'm perfectly content with still using 1080p displays in 2016. Color performance leaves a bit to be desired. For some reason, OnePlus is targeting the NTSC color space, which delivers unnatural oversaturation across the board. That said, you do get some of the advantages of AMOLED displays here: deep blacks, fantastic contrast ratio, and wide viewing angles. Brightness is a little bit below average for an AMOLED, but I still found it quite easy to see outdoors thanks to low reflectivity. And if you do want to improve the color performance, simply head into the developer options and switch on the sRGB mode. I tend to find that most people prefer to use an oversaturated display, so you probably keep it on that default setting. However, I found it to be a little too oversaturated for my liking, even more than the Galaxy S7, so it's a bit of a toss-up there between keeping it on the default mode or switching it to sRGB. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time discussing the performance of the OnePlus 3 because it uses a Snapdragon 820 SoC, which I've detailed in the past and is known to have extremely great system performance, particularly at 1080p. There are a few things that I want to highlight though. The OnePlus 3's throttling performance is fantastic. There is no throttling to speak of, even after lengthy gaming sessions, and this is really the first high-end device I've seen in a long time that doesn't throttle under intense workloads. I was also extremely pleased with storage performance, which means app loading is very fast, and that 6GB of RAM inside, and with the new software update that improves RAM management, means that multitasking is fluid and fast as well. So really, the OnePlus 3 ticks all the boxes as far as performance is concerned. I was very impressed with the OnePlus 3's camera as well. It's a 16MP optically stabilized Sony Exmor sensor with 1.12 micron pixels and an f2.0 lens, and across the board you'll be finding really fantastic photos from this device. In strong lighting you'll find great dynamic range and contrast, as well as a good level of detail from those 16MP shots. Color performance is also fantastic with great levels of accuracy and saturation, which is exactly what I want to see here. The Galaxy S7 and LG G5 are slightly better in their color processing processing, which makes photos pop that little bit more straight off the camera. But in general, the OnePlus 3 delivers from a color performance perspective, especially when you bring it indoors or into lesser light where other cameras can struggle. The OnePlus 3 still performs really well here. In low light, the OnePlus 3 is good without being outstanding. I think the LG G5 is a little bit better here in terms of its low light performance, but I'm still quite impressed with what the OnePlus 3 delivers. Optical image stabilization is always a key feature here for getting those better shots in low light. The OnePlus 3's camera app is easy to use thanks to a lack of clutter throughout the interface. I love seeing auto HDR here. It's great to have that feature on smartphones, and both capture and focus speeds are very quick. There's a manual mode included, which is decent, but not as good as some of the best manual modes I've seen, and we're still getting 4K video recording, which is a key feature on a high-end smartphone. There's an 8 megapixel sensor on the front with an f2.0 lens, which is good as far as selfie cameras go. Nothing too outstanding here and pretty typical for what you'd expect from a high-end smartphone, so there's no complaints there either. And in general, I think the camera system that the OnePlus 3 provides really goes toe-to-toe with some of the best cameras that I've seen on the market this year. It's also worth talking a little bit about the software on the OnePlus 3. This device comes with Android 6.0 plus with what OnePlus calls Oxygen OS, but this is basically just stock Android. So you're getting that fantastic visual style across all the apps and the launcher. There are a couple of feature additions like gestures and theming support, but nothing amazing here. And if you're after a stock Android experience, the OnePlus 3 should deliver. I'll also mention software updates here because OnePlus does have an above average record of delivering prompt software updates to their devices, and this device has been patched with the latest Android security updates, which is of course fantastic to see for a third-party device. And this brings me to the end of my review of the OnePlus 3, and there's not a whole lot to complain about when this device retails for just $400, undercutting the competition by $100, $200, or even $300 in some circumstances. It basically ticks all the boxes across the board. You're getting a great design, one of the best I've seen this year, a really decent display, fantastic class-leading performance including no concerns with throttling, a really great rear camera, decent battery life, stock Android with good update support. Really, it's got everything you'd want, and there's extras too. USB-C, a fingerprint scanner, that alert slider on the left-hand side. Everything you'd want is included in the OnePlus 3 at a very affordable price point, which makes it one of my most recommended smartphones of the year. There are some reasons you may want to get something else like the Galaxy S7 or Huawei P9, which are that little bit smaller and easier to use than this 5.5-inch device. However, in general, I can't complain about the OnePlus 3, and it's a near perfect Android handset in 2016. And that's it for my review of the OnePlus 3. Don't forget to check on techspot.com for the full review, where you'll find benchmarks for everything like display, performance, and battery life. Everything you want to know is right in there. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more video reviews coming in the future. Thanks guys, this has been a TechSpot video review.